Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Kelly. Today, my guest is Kevin Graham with Suncoast One Title and Closing. Today, we're going to learn a little bit about what's going on in the title world. So, Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to get started?
Oh, let's see. Gosh, I've been in the title business since 2005. If you know anything about the real estate market, I endured the worst of it.
You endured the worst of it, yes.
Yeah, I actually, so I have a degree from Florida State University.
Okay.
I graduated a very long time ago, and started out actually in the insurance business as a life and health insurance agent, and started an insurance agency after I left the other company I was with.
Uh-huh.
I actually worked for GE Capital for a while as a national sales director for them.
Oh, wow.
And then once I left them, I went out on my own. So been doing title insurance since 2005. I said that somewhere in the middle there when I left and did my own thing, I also taught for the Florida School of Insurance for 10, 12 years, teaching not title agents, but insurance agents, CPAs, attorneys, and a lot of it was information not only about life and health insurance, but also a lot of it was about estate planning, contracts, trusts,
And
those
things
kind of
like
things.
that.
Yeah, so that whole thing actually played well into my title career.
That's amazing.
Because a lot of things we deal with are probate and estates,
And you've been very successful in the title. How many locations do you have now?
we now have 6 locations.
6
Yeah.
locations.
So we started. I actually bought Suncoast One Title in 2013, and merged my old company into it. And since then, we've just grown it over and over again. We just keep expanding. So hopefully, we'll do more.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, today what I wanted you to just talk about a little bit is let's start with what is title insurance. As I was telling you before, I had a client one day say, first-time home buyer, title insurance? I don't need title insurance. I'm like, yeah, you do. Can you give us
Yeah.
some information about that?
Yeah, we have a lot of people. Well, we often have people. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but they'll say, I don't need title insurance. I don't want title insurance. Well, title insurance basically insures your ownership.
Okay.
It is a one-time premium at closing, based on the sales price and the amount of insurance that you're buying. And for one, most lenders will, I would say, every lender will probably require you to do it.
Absolutely. I don't know of a lender that won't.
Yeah. And similarly, I think most brokerages, real estate brokerages, will require it as well because basically it is a pot of money to defend your ownership. So what it will do is it will defend any challenge. So we go and do a title search, which a lot of people want to rely on the title search alone without the insurance. Well, the title search basically checks all of the chain of title, the history of the property for the last 30 years, and goes back and makes sure that there's no erroneous deeds, fraudulent deeds, things like that, and that there's no challengers left out there that we know about to challenge your ownership.
Would it look for open permits, contractors looking to put liens, things like that?
So if there's liens, so contractors'
Yes.
liens, it follows that. Interesting enough, an open permit is not a title issue.
Ah,
Now, we at Suncoast One, we always do a permit search
that's good.
because corrected after the fact is a nuisance for the new owner. So yes, we do an open lien search and also an open permit search, because what happens if you have an open permit and you own the property, now you have to go and try to find the contractor that did the permit and have them close it out, or hire another contractor to go and certify the work, which they are usually not willing to do.
No.
They don't want to certify somebody else's work to close that out.
Right.
So that becomes a nuisance, and then you spend a few $1,000s to clean up the mess that was left. So open permit search to me is a good thing, even though we're not required to do it, and we're not insuring against it.
Right. Something that you mentioned I find very interesting, because a lot of people, they want to go and they want to shop title agencies. And I always tell them, your title fees are based on your loan amount, correct?
Yes.
And if there's not a lien, what is it based on? The purchase price?
It is always based on the purchase price.
Okay.
So the only things that vary from one place to the other is what your closing fees are,
Correct.
what your endorsements on the policy cost, things like that, and the minimum. There's a very minimal difference from one agency to the others around here. Now I have seen where somebody says, oh, that well, I let them pick title, and ends up that they're charging both sides, and they got some guy out of Miami to do it, and he's charging $600 a side, and it's just honestly, I think it's outside of the legality of the contract in some ways.
Yes.
But some people have been caught by it by allowing the other party to say, oh, I'll pay title, and then getting smacked with their own closing fee that they didn't have to have.
So again, people, always use local, and remember those fees are going to be based either on the purchase price or the loan amount in shopping. So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now is there's a lot of cyber fraud.
There's a lot of cyber fraud.
Can you talk about that? Tell us what's going on there, how to prevent it?
So cyber fraud, there's a lot of things that basically there's bad people in this world, and they're using their smarts, their intelligence to go and break into your email account, break into your computer,
right?
Through things like phishing emails. And what happens is once you get this email that you shouldn't have gotten, or even you'll get them on your phone even where it says, hey, your UPS delivery is on its way, and you go, oh, I don't remember what I ordered, and you click on that, and boom, all of a sudden they're in your system. Same thing in your computer. And so once they get in, then they can find the keystrokes to get your passwords to your emails. And then they see things like they see the email from the title company, they see the email from the lender, and then what happens is then they start spoofing emails, and they fake the email address.
Okay.
So maybe they'll say they'll spell Loan Depot wrong in the URL, but they'll create a new URL, and basically you would think you just catch a misspelling, but the fact is it looks like it's coming from Kelly, and it says, oh, your wire instructions have changed. Yes. And we've had it happen where a realtor caught it and said, hey, we got this email, and you guys are acting weird. You seem like you're in a hurry to get the wire in, things like that. So there's some clues out there where there's a strange sense of urgency to it, some things like that. So our deal is really we have very high security on our system.
Yes, I know that you do.
Yeah, and so we have two things. One, we have constant monitoring through our firewall and through our computers. We have software on there that monitors everything that happens in our computers. So if there is a password change or anything like that that's going on, or a new item coming through, it's very techy. I'm not a super techie guy, but somehow they are watching all of the time to make sure that if there's any unique changes in our system, that it catches it. And they've caught some things, and they catch it fast. They catch it the same day. And they tell us, hey, change all your passwords, do this, do that, and they have a response team. So that's a big deal. So that's the one thing. And two is we're big on getting wire verification information. So if we get a fax or an email of a wire change, then this is for consumers too. The one thing you always do is you look up that phone number independently. Don't go by the phone number that's in the email, because they'll change that too. And so let's say Kelly sent you an email that says, hey, your wire instructions are here. The one thing you want to do is look up independently the phone number you have in your phone, or that you can Google and find on the web.
You'd be on my website or
right. Yeah. So find something independent of that email. Dial the phone and say, hey, I want to go through these wire instructions with you, and read off all of the account numbers, and everything that goes in there, because otherwise, the minute you wire your money to somebody else by mistake, you've lost it.
It's gone.
The money's gone. That's it.
And you will never, ever get wire instructions from me, my team, and I would think that any mortgage lender or bank out there, they are not going to give you your wire instructions. That's going to come directly
from
the title company.
Yeah.
And some of them are two-parters. So there's different ways to verify. I've seen different types of things from different companies, but exactly. And like Kevin said, once it's gone, it's gone. You're not getting that money back.
Right. So the other thing that we do, and I know you've worked with us on it, is we have a very secure portal. Okay.
Yes.
So our software is called Qualia, and it has a user portal for not only the lender but for the customer.
Yes.
And for the realtor. And the funny thing is, well, it's not funny. It's frustrating in some ways because people don't all want to adopt technology.
Correct. And it's frustrating.
So, but when you think about how vulnerable email is, and it is extremely email is so vulnerable, and realtors don't even realize, but they're the number one target right now.
Oh, really?
When it comes to, well, there's so much money. Think about this. You have a realtor that's successful, that's selling, a couple of properties a month even.
And they're $1 million properties,
Right.
$500,000 properties, what have you.
So they're not looking, these thieves are not looking to get even $5,000 or $10,000 from you. They're trying to get the $500,000.
Right.
So where's the big money? Well, a lot of it's going past realtors, and realtors are handling it. And the other thing is that realtors are working with just a basic email box, like a Gmail or a Yahoo or some of those things. And not to say that they're terribly vulnerable, but they don't have the security systems in place that large organizations have. So it's like Loan Depot.
Right.
You guys have big security on your stuff.
We do. And even though there's still stuff that comes through that could be from upper management, and we are trained to watch for that stuff too.
Yeah.
What was I going to ask you? You were talking about the realtors' emails. Now, if they use their company email, you may not know this. If they use their company's email, do you think that there's a few more security things there, or
I would hope so.
Or we just don't know?
I would hope so.
And maybe the realtor needs to ask.
Yeah, I would think that the larger companies across the world probably do, but it still goes back to even my email, which I think is extremely secure. I would prefer not to use it. I would prefer to use the portal.
Yes.
Because what happens is you end up with a code on your phone. You get two-party authentication. And basically you have your own login on your phone, and it goes right into our system. There's no email. There's nothing to be intercepted in the middle. There's nobody that can break in and see that gateway.
Right.
And so that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal. And speaking of portals, I mean, lending into my own company and my own business, I have borrowers who want to email me their tax returns, their W-2s and stuff, but we have a portal that's set up. And some people are not technologically, easy for me to say, savvy, and you have to walk them through it. And if they just listen and walk through it, it's for their own protection.
Right.
Plus, for me, you're better off putting it in the portal, because then I know it's in the file and I've not saved it somewhere and forgot to put it in there, and then my processor's going, do you have this? Or they're calling you
but
for
you
it.
think, we just talked about how vulnerable email is, and somebody wants to email you their social security number.
Yes.
So you think about this, it's not only that they could be stealing from this transaction, they could steal that person's identity.
From their own
use
side.
their credit. They could do so many things. So sending your social security number through the email is just so dangerous.
It is so dangerous.
Even with us, I would say, one, we have the portal. You can put it in the portal. Or two, call us from an independent number. Again, I always say, you check the number, check online that you have got the right number. Don't take it off an email, but call us and give it to us verbally. That's fine. That's so much better than putting it in your email, because the email... I got something today just from my health insurance company that there was a data breach, and you sit there and you go, man, this is just a scary world.
It is
So,
a very scary world. And
So
what
the-
are people going to do with that information? We just don't
Right,
know.
you
I mean,
just
we
don't
could
know.
go down a whole rabbit hole with that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that actually, though, that brings me to another topic is
Yes.
when it comes to your property and the dangers in title insurance, and this is a big thing too now, is identity theft. So, and it's not just that they took over your identity, but if you're a seller, like if you own a property from out of town, especially, but it's not just out of town, people are taking and faking IDs and then trying to sell your property. And so we go through this entire process of creating all the right documents and the title insurance and all of those things, and yet the seller is a fake. So we have learned how to read passports, how to identify fake IDs, and just all of the steps that we have to go through to do. We make sure we speak to the customer directly, which they even do that and fake it. But we've caught so many fake IDs on people just trying to sell property for somebody that's not paying attention.
Do you see it more on vacant land or on homes?
It's much more prevalent on vacant land, but it is picking up in the homeland, in the home business.
And what advice, if any, would you give a realtor who might be dealing with an individual who's trying to sell a property fraudulently?
Well, one, don't take a listing by email. Make sure you've spoken to them. And if they are overseas, especially, is a big deal.
Yes, that's the big red flag.
Get their copies of their IDs. We ask for 2 forms of ID. On top of it, what we tend to do is send a letter to the address on record with the tax collector's office. And if they start making excuses of why they're not answering and things like that, and I would tell a realtor, if you're going to take a listing, send a letter to the address on record and say, hey, welcome, or whatever, however you want to put it. Not, hey, I'm trying to catch you in a scam, but hey, I'm going to be your realtor. I'm excited to work with you. Just a welcome letter or something like that. If the property owner gets that kind of letter, they're probably going to call you and go, hey, what's this? You're not listing my property. I don't get it. And that's important.
It is.
So there's so many multiple steps, and yet it still gets through all the time. Not, we catch a lot of them, but in the industry itself, the FBI record shows it's like 862% increase over the previous year.
Whoa.
And then the numbers in the billions of what is scammed through through the cyber fraud and property fraud.
Do you think that Florida is more of a target than other states?
Florida is one of the biggest. We have a lot of seniors. We have a lot of non-resident owners. So you have vacation homes down here. You have people that live up north and own vacant property down here that they're going to retire too soon, or they inherited it and they just haven't come down and done anything with it. So Florida's a big target. And Florida's always been a big target for scams, but I think that the non-resident owner makes us a bigger target than the seniors do.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Kevin, one other topic that I wanted to bring up with you, because my husband, every night, this commercial comes on and he's having a fit. How can that happen?
Oh.
You hear about these people stealing your title. They go into the Register of Deeds with a quick claim deed and they have to take it even though they know it's not you.
Yeah.
What's that about?
So they basically, the deed changes the ownership. So
Right.
if they can create a fraudulent deed and file it with the clerk's office, then all of a sudden that they're basically showing that they're the owner of the property.
Right.
And that might be the reason that they want to. The reason they want to do it is because they might want to sell it.
Right.
So
They're looking to make money some way.
right. So instead of trying to get a fraudulent passport or a fraudulent ID past us, then they come in with it in their name, and they have their IDs and everything's right, and
It's notarized.
that's notarized.
They've
Yeah.
forged your signature, obviously.
As the seller, yep. So they've created a deed where the property owner is the seller and they're the buyer, and that they're taking over property. And so what happens is that according to the clerk's records, they own it. So then they can sell it. So there's usually we would catch something like that,
Right.
but doesn't mean it would always get caught. Nobody's perfect at catching all this stuff. We're pretty good at catching it, but it's really hard. So there's a couple of things. One is you were talking about the commercial with Title Lock and
Yes.
some
Companies
that are saying basically will guarantee that your property can't change hands. One, again, I say I hope the title company would catch it because a recent deed is a big trigger for us. So we're going to really look at that, and our searchers are good at looking at those things too. On top of it, though, you don't really need a company to ensure that because the clerk's office will do that for free. The Charlotte County clerk, you can call them and you can sign up for basically a notification process. So the companies that are saying that they're title and that they're insurance, they're really not insurance. They're basically telling you when something happened, which means by then it's already happened. But having a notification of it happening is probably a good thing as opposed to letting it go for a couple of years.
So the clerk would let you know, hey, we've just received this document on your property, even though they have to accept it because it has your signature on it.
Right.
They let you know. Now, do they send you a letter or
they usually send you a letter? I think you can sign up for email also. And it'll say, hey, there was a change or there was a document recorded. If there's a new mortgage recorded against your property or a lien filed against your property, then you would know. But so all you have to do is fill out the form with the clerk's office and the Charlotte County clerk will do it for free.
So then once this has transpired, or do they hold off filing it until they've contacted you?
No, there's still going to be...
Still now this has switched hands and now you've got to...
Yeah, there's still some documents out there that are... And I don't know what the process is at that point to fight the fraud.
That's...
you probably
We'll
are
have to
getting
get
to
the clerk's office in here to talk about that. I think that's a good subject.
I'm sure Roger Eaton would do it.
I know, Roger's awesome.
He's created a lot of great technology there and really has stepped up the office into the new era of technology. So
true, not true. If you don't have a mortgage on your property, I would think it's easier to do that. But what if you just put a home equity line of credit out there and don't use it? Now you got a lien. It makes it a little bit harder for somebody to come in and do that. Would you think, or no?
The only thing is that you'd have to get a payoff. On the lien itself. And if you can't get a payoff, you can't do it. Change.
Yeah. So really, that could deter someone because it's not as easy to do. They're looking for the easy targets.
It's just an extra step. Yeah. So I don't know how much it would really stop them, but I do have to order a payoff even for that equity line.
Even if nothing's owed on it, you still have to get it satisfied before you sell.
Quite frankly, that's pretty easy for us. Regardless, we don't necessarily always need the seller to sign off on that. Sometimes we do. And thankfully that puts a barrier there.
Yeah.
So if their lender doesn't require signatures of the seller on it, then that's easy. It's really easy to get past. But more and more are requiring the seller's signature.
Well, thank you, Kevin. We are just about up with our time. I am so happy. You've been a great guest.
Well,
a lot of good information.
I appreciate you having me on.
So I have a question for you. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
The best advice I've ever gotten. Oh my.
Marry Kim.
Wow, that may. The best advice I've ever gotten. Surround yourself by really great people.
That is awesome advice.
Surround yourself with people who you want to be, and who you aspire to be.
And look at you've done that, and you're very successful. That's amazing.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Kevin and learned a lot. Until next time.